How's it going, everybody? Feels like a very early morning right now. It's very cold, but that's fine. And I'm pretty sure it is a US bank holiday today. So, as you see, we have bank holiday, 19th. Yeah, so I'm not expecting tons of volatility compared to, what we usually get. But I guess we'll see. We'll see what happens. We will see. It's always good to just be on the charts anyway. Just make sure everything's okay. There we go. How is everybody doing on this fine Monday morning? Must be quite early in Canada right now. Do your risk parameters change on a day like this? I wouldn't really say so, because if the trade's valid, then the trade's valid. I obviously have backtested through bank holidays. I don't know anybody who will do their backtesting and single out bank holidays to not trade. So that's kind of the way that I see it. If I just look some backtesting quickly. Representing Kenya. How's it going in Kenya? So we'll see if we get a trade or not. This will be interesting, hopefully. And even if we don't get a trade, I'll just probably do some back testing instead, because if I'm on the charts and it's my set trading hours, then I want to make the most of it. If I'm not trading, then I want to do well or improve in some other way. I feel like that's a good way to constantly improve as a trader. Did you also backtest only London session, or have you tried more hours but found London better? The reason I trade London session is because it fits when I want to trade. Obviously, living in the UK, we can trade London session, we can trade New York session, we can trade basically any session. But I wanted to trade in the morning, and I wanted to then do other stuff in the rest of the day. So I basically tailored my trading around London session. If it wasn't profitable in London and profitable in New York, then I possibly would have just switched it around. But it seems to be profitable in both, so I just chose London. I could obviously start trading New York as well, but I don't really feel the need to do so at the moment. If I was fully trying to maximize every single penny of profit, then I would trade London and New York, and I wouldn't just trade one strategy. But you have to think of the compromise between having so many hours on the charts and also the other side of it, which is being able to do other stuff in your life. You don't want to be fully glued onto the screens 24/7, because people always say that they are getting into trading to escape, escape a 9 to 5 and actually have freedom in their life, their business, everything like this. But if you're trying to get freedom and then you're sat on the charts for 10, 12 hours a day, is that really freedom at all? That's what you also have to consider. So we're basically getting no movement right now. We had this breakdown below pre-London or before my trading hours, which have obviously started on this candle here at 8 a.m. Not really anything to report so far. Good morning, Peter. How's it going? How is it going? We just check the news for the week. Always good to do. So let's have some Canadian news today. Not really of interest to us. Okay, we have GBP news tomorrow, employment change, unemployment rate. That's going to be quite interesting, but that is obviously before my trading hours, so it shouldn't really affect me. And then Wednesday we have more GBP news. We have CPI for the pound. I'll just extend this to Friday. So that's 2 days in a row. And also we have, so basically on Wednesday, it's going to be an interesting trading day. We have news before the trading hours and we have news after the trading hours. Multiple sets of high impact news. Then Thursday, we have, again, more US high impact news. Again, after my trading hours, but it's still of interest, obviously. Then we have more high impact news on the pound, on the euro, the pound again, and the dollar. So it's going to be quite an interesting week news-wise. We seem to have a lot of different high impact news events being released this week, which will make trading hopefully a bit more interesting, maybe some more volatility. But I guess we'll see. We'll see. Your new gold bull pump. Yeah, that is a crazy gap, to be honest. If we're looking, that is a decent sized gap. I used to actually trade gaps, and most of the time it fills. Most of the time the gap will fill. Do you trade a fixed risk reward? I see most of the time aim for 1 to 2, but I feel like I might be limiting myself. What do you think? I would say you kind of have to think about the data. I know I always say about the data, but why are you limiting yourself to 1 to 2? Is it because the data suggests that a 1 to 2 is the best for you? Or you're just doing that because you feel like that might be the best? If you collect data on 1 to 1, 1 to 2, 1 to 3, 1 to 4, you can quite easily see the difference. Obviously, the higher the win rate, the higher the risk to reward even, the lower your win rate. So a lot of people like using a lower risk to reward because they win more trades. And especially beginners, they're not very good at having trades having periods in the markets where they're not winning. But if you can obviously try and increase it and still be profitable or more profitable, then that will probably help you long term. I just say look through your data, look through your trades that you've taken, and go through the risk rewards of those trades. Would you be able to scale it further? Would you be able to go to 1 to 2.5 or 1 to 3 and just see if that alters your results at all? And obviously don't test it in the live markets, test it on previous data, because that will make it a lot easier. And obviously if you're backtesting FX Replay, they have their own tool, if I show you, that shows you the different risk to reward settings. So instead of having to collect it all manually, if you see here, you go on the simulator and it will show you all the stats for the different risk to rewards. So obviously 1 to 4, 1 to 5, we can see that 1 to 5 is much more profitable than a 1 to 1, but you will lose more trades. Obviously a 26% win rate is very small compared to a 51. It's basically half the win rate, but you're making a lot more profit. You have a higher profit factor, and also your drawdown is a lot lower. So collecting these stats will make it easier for you to See which risk reward is best for you to maximize your profits. How many hours do you spend backtesting in a day? I don't backtest every single day, but when I do backtest, I'll backtest like a minimum of 2 or 3 months of data, which is around 1 hour to an hour and a half. Because I feel like if you go too long, it's actually quite bad because you're just not going to be fully focused. But if you don't do enough, then you're just going to fall behind. You just want to do 2 weeks of backtesting every time. Do you use Notion to collect your data? I do not. I don't think Notion is the best way to collect data. I know a lot of people use it for journaling, but I don't really see the appeal. I think if you're using Edgewonk or you're using a certain journaling or backtesting software in combination with Excel spreadsheets, I don't think you can really beat an Excel spreadsheet to collect data. I just think it's the best way for any data you're collecting, to be honest, even if it's not in trading. I feel like people use it for basically any industry. Whereas Notion's a bit, I just don't really think it's optimized for, finance data collection. We're getting no volatility. I'm looking for sales on GU at 1.34200. So you're looking at this sort of level here. All the way above everything. Four-hour liquidity sweep into a POI. Why the huge gap? I guess you're talking about gold. I don't know. We've had a lot of uncertainty, especially with tariffs on, Trump looking to put tariffs on the EU. How are you up and changed already? Well, Oscar, some people work proper jobs. Trading is a hard job. You got to be up, ready early in the morning. I think you start work at 10, don't you? So, not all of us are slacking. It's a holiday in the US. Yes, I know. It's Martin Luther King Jr. Day, which apparently that's deserving of a bank holiday. 10:45 exactly. That's even later. Even later. You should have done 2 hours of backtesting before you go to work every morning then. Hello Wills, what prop firm do you recommend? I would say go to prop firm match, go through their challenges and see which one fits your trading style the best. Especially with the drawdowns, either balance based or equity based drawdowns. You also want to look at profit targets. Are you actually able to pass the prop firm? Are you able to reach those profit goals before going into a drawdown? And also the rules. Do you trade news? Do you trade overnight? Do you trade over weekends? You need to figure these things out before you spend your hard-earned money. We have nothing to do as it's US holiday. Yeah, but you should still be at the desk. Got to lock in. What area are you looking at for GU? I'm not looking at anything yet. If we haven't broken structure, obviously we have this low here and we have this high here. There we go. Break of the high, gives me a bullish sign, break of the low, bearish sign. But if we're just in the middle here, then we're not looking for anything. Yeah, you're right, Oscar. Damn, you've exposed me now. You bought a 10k account. That's good. Good start. There's no point going straight in for 100k or 200k. That's a good starting point. I reckon it won't be a trade today. I probably agree, to be honest. But we, in the next 3 or 4 hours, we could see a bit of momentum. Then obviously, if we get momentum to the downside, we've then got to get a bit of bullish momentum to then drop further down. So we need a lot of stars to align for this to actually work out. But Oscar, I noticed there's a new industry series out, I think there's new episodes every Monday or something. So that will probably keep you occupied. Yeah, 2 episodes out. Yeah. New one today. Season 4. Very nice. Euro USD. Yeah, not really anything on Euro USD. Yeah, like I said earlier in the live, I'm not looking for much really, to be honest. I'm just seeing, there could be a situation when we get a trade, not expecting anything major compared to obviously previous days. But it's just good to be on the charts anyway and to see what happens. Yeah, they kind of went away from anything finance related for a while. You should have asked me to be in the cast. Just literally boring markets, so we'll see what's happening in the backtesting. Update for people who haven't seen the recent backtesting videos. I'll quickly go through the results. So these are the results that we had on the live. If you watch back, you'll notice that a few of the trades didn't actually enter, or it said that it lost, but it actually won. So these are the actual results. And yeah, we've returned, I think, around 20% or so in the first 7 months of trading. So it has been very, very good so far. And if we don't get any trades, then I'll continue backtesting maybe 2 or 3 more months in this session, in this live stream. So we can hopefully create another strategy that we can trade live. That would be amazing. I just want to break down the results for you right now. On lower volatility days, would you still risk 10 pips and aim for 30? Does that make it harder to hit TP? Well, obviously it does make it harder. The further your target, obviously the harder it is to hit. But again, in my backtesting, I don't remember ever focusing on, okay, it's a bank holiday, I'm not going to trade. I've never had that situation. So I'm just going to trade as if it's a normal day. And obviously there is lower volatility, as you can see, not really much going on, but we just have to accept that. It's basically just a normal trading day, and we'll just see what happens. And obviously we've had a lot of things in the world going on, especially regarding Trump and Greenland, tariffs, the Middle East, a lot of different situations that will cause volatility, as you see on the massive gap on gold. That wasn't just caused by nothing. That means over the weekend, there's been a lot of changes happening. Let's just say that. How long do you leave your trade open? Until we hit stop loss or take profit, or the trade becomes invalid. If the trade becomes invalid, that will be a situation like this. So say I'm selling now. If I just put a thing on, if I'm selling like this and we come up and break this high, close above this high, then I will close out the trade. If this doesn't happen, and this doesn't happen, and this doesn't happen, meaning stop loss, take profit, and a break of structure, in the opposite direction, then there is no reason for me to close a trade. London won't be much different. I mean, are you seeing the volatility? There is absolutely zero. I mean, I hope we get the break relatively soon so we can get a possible trade, but I guess we'll see. We will see. Just do a live for £50 and see how much you make in a stream. I actually was thinking about doing that just for news. So if there's a news event that is perhaps, I don't know, CPI, NFP, FOMC maybe, to just put 25, £50 in an account and then trade it. Because on a normal day, £50, well, what's the most you can really make? It's not really a lot. It's not really worth it. I might as well just trade real capital. Whereas if it's a news event, then it will be more fun because that account could be gone in 5 minutes, or I could double it in 5 minutes. That's why, yeah, that's why I think that'd be quite fun. I actually did it on Twitch, £25 on CPI, and recorded it, which I'm going to post on my second YouTube channel. So be sure to look out for that. Because yes, CPI always a good amount of movement. PPI doesn't really do much, to be honest, or in comparison to CPI anyway. And obviously NFP is a classic, but I actually trade a specific strategy on NFP, which seems to be doing quite well over time so far. If you're in profit and there is a higher low formed after you enter and it breaks, do you close the position if it breaks it? Yeah, if it's a break, if it's a, let's say like here, if I'm selling, we go down. Obviously, this has just been created. If we break and close above that, then that is a break of structure to the upside. Did you start with prop firms to build up your live? Yeah, prop firms definitely helped. And I was able to get my first payout when I was 18. So that was 4 years ago now. So I was able to, yeah, start growing my personal account from the prop firm account. Definitely made it easier because also you have less pressure on your trading, and the more pressure you put on yourself with trying to make money on a personal account, it's just going to be a lot harder for you. Your trading range is very small. We cannot see the big picture. Well, that's just how it works. I don't trade based on the big picture. I don't go on the higher time frames. I trade on this time frame alone, the 15-minute. What's my chess elo? I don't know, like 1600, I can't remember. Giulio Milano? I do not. Do you use order flow and volumes? I don't. I just use simple breaks of structure. No need to overcomplicate anything. It's super simple. It looks like funding ticks, the futures, I think they were the futures firm, just shut down. Winding down funding ticks' operation. That's quite interesting. Has anybody traded with them before? Because that's yeah, it's not a good sign for the industry, obviously, if a big firm has to shut down. What time frame is this? 15-minute time frame. 15-minute. There's not really much going on in the markets at the moment, to be honest. Looking at the same setup on my 10k account. Very nice. For CFD, which are the best prop firms? I would say FTMO is always a good prop firm to go with. You have Fivers, you have E8, you have Alpha Capital doing pretty well. As long as you don't break any rules, every prop firm should be pretty decent. Just don't break their rules and you probably will have a good experience. This is GBP USD. It's the only pair I trade. The only pair. Funding 6 shut down. I was max allocated with them. I was about to take my first payout with them before they shut down to go 2 months. Are you still going to get your payout, or are they going to not pay you out? Because that's a bad situation if you traded for 2 months then didn't actually receive the payout. That's not good. Not good at all. Someone who's new to trading, what's the best way to find a simple trading strategy as self-taught? Well, you just have to backtest, to be honest. You can watch YouTube videos on people's trading strategies, see what you like, and then backtest. Backtest and see if it works for you. And the more you backtest, the more you'll realize, okay, when this happens, this seems to happen afterwards. And you just basically go on patterns you're seeing. Then you turn those patterns into a strategy. Like this strategy I was testing is based on something that I've seen happen in the markets. So I wanted to test it. And then it's become a strategy that looks like it's going to be profitable. So I'm going to test it further. You know, I wouldn't test it further if it was just disastrous from the first month. The first month lost 15-20%, then it's probably a good sign that this strategy is not going to work. But if you only want to learn from yourself and not learn from, you know, a course or someone else, then you have to just put in a lot more work on your backtesting. Whereas if you're buying a course, you're buying the mentorship and teaching from somebody who's already done that backtesting for you to know that it's working in the first place. How long do you think prop firms will be around? I don't see a reason why prop firms in general would not carry on. You're always going to get firms that shut down. You're always going to get firms that last longer than the others because they're all operating differently. One firm spends their money in one way, one firm spends their money in another way, and it's just which one is the right way. If you're looking at the firms that have lasted longest, like FTMO, they seem to be very strict on, you know, no discounts. They don't really want to change their rules much, and that's probably worked in their favor. But a lot of the new firms, they keep trying to undercut each other. And when you're always trying to undercut the other person, you're then selling challenges for way, way too low of a price. If you're selling it a challenge for 50% of its true value, then you probably aren't going to be as profitable as a firm, because you think the cheaper your challenge, the more people that are going to buy it, the more people that are going to pass, but you're getting more people pass and get payouts, but you're only making 50% of what you should be making on that challenge. So that is why a lot of them end up shutting down. Whereas you look at the firms that barely run discounts like FTMO, I've only seen them have a discount once in their existence, I'm pretty sure, which is like a maximum 5% off. But they are not going to shut down. They're actually expanding into other areas of the finance industry. And I would actually be really shocked if FTMO did end up shutting down at some point. What are your thoughts on order flow and footprint charts? I mean, I know a lot of people that trade them, and they trade them very successfully. So I think, yeah, they're definitely a good thing to learn. Even if you're not going to trade them, it's always good to understand how the markets are actually moving. You know, what's causing each candle, what's causing the retest, and you can understand that from looking at order flow and footprint charts for sure. What software do I use for backtesting? I use FX Replay. There is a link down below if you want to go check them out. I'd say they are the best way of backtesting. It just is so much easier than how I had to test when I started trading with TradingView, and I'd have to go click through on the replay tool and everything, and then input it into Excel, and it just it wasn't fun. Wasn't fun. And right, if we all use the same strategy, prop firms will pick up on it and breach accounts. I don't think that will be an issue, to be honest. You know, I've had lots of people in the mentorship all trading with different prop firms, and it's never been an issue. Obviously, if 500 people or 1,000 people were taking the exact same trades every single time, then it's probably going to be an issue, but I don't really see that happening, to be honest. How many trades do you average on a month? Maybe if I'm taking every setup, 5 to 10 trades probably. Sometimes more, it depends on the conditions. Some months I'll only have a few trades. But again, it just depends on what happens in the markets. Like today, we might not get a trade. Tomorrow, we might not get a trade. But we might get one on Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. So net average 3 this week. And the same could happen next week. Then we're averaging, 12 trades in a month. But yeah, I don't really care about how many trades I get per month, because all I'm really looking at is just trading the setups. If there's a setup, I will trade it. If there's no setup, I won't trade it. That's kind of how I see it. And obviously I don't want to trade if there's no setups. That's kind of the basics behind my trading. So right now, there's no setups. And we can look at some other pairs, gold. Obviously there's nothing really going on, but we have this massive gap. So I wouldn't be surprised today if we did come down to fill this gap. But yeah, I mean, we're obviously just stuck in this range. And if we break this range below here, then I expect a retest first. That's usually what happens. Change sides, we can't see the currency. You know, hopefully we don't have this sort of situation where we just get stuck in more consolidation. Or a lot of times in consolidation, before we get into like proper consolidation, we'll break the high, then we'll come back in, then we'll trade around here, then we'll break the low. That makes it difficult to trade, very difficult. Especially if you're not used to trading in consolidation, that is. Because that makes it a lot more difficult. A hell of a lot more difficult. Gold check, I just checked gold. There's nothing really happening. Hello Bashi, how's it going? Yeah, not really anything going on so far. What rules for E8 prop firms should I be aware of? I don't know. It depends how you trade. You know, certain people will trade with a prop firm and they won't have to deal with any of the rules. I mean, the rules to always look out for are drawdown rules. You want risk rules and consistency rules. Those are the main rules to check out. Not many people trade news, so that doesn't really matter. Not many people head over and break the main rules people break. People usually break drawdown rules. They usually break drawdown rules. So that's the only rule that most people should focus on. Whereas if you're looking at the rules like max risk per trade or news rules, weekend holding, most people won't be losing on those rules. So you should be focused on the rules that people usually fail on, or perhaps rules that you failed on before, and focus on those. Have you tried futures firms yet? I am yet to try any futures firms. If you only have to trade New York session, can you make it work for you? Of course. Of course. What sort of market conditions have caused you more losses? Consolidation definitely is not a fun condition to trade in, especially if I'm trading a strategy that wants to break and this sort of structure. If we're just going, I can't make profit obviously, because I need price to break structure, retest, and then continue dropping. If it doesn't do that, then there's no setup, and you can get tagged into a trade that then just consolidates for the whole trade. Never interacted in your lives, but your psychology and reality of trading videos have been super helpful. That's good to know. That's good. Yeah, I try and make my videos realistic for traders. I don't want to say you can make 100k in your first week trading, because that just isn't realistic at all. I want to speak about the actual reality of trading, how hard it's going to be, how you're going to definitely lose money. But yeah, and the people that like that and they want to know the true reality of trading will obviously watch the videos and learn from it. But a lot of people, you'll notice, just want to hear the positives. And if you just want to hear the positives, you'll give yourself unrealistic expectations. And you can't go into trading with unrealistic expectations. How often do you stay loyal to your strategy? Every single day. If I wasn't loyal to my strategy, I could just take random trades every day. You have to be very, very disciplined with your trading. Are you looking for sells once you break the high? If we're breaking the high, then we're looking for buys. We're looking for longs if we break a high. We're not looking to sell if we've broken structure to the upside. That would be that wouldn't be a great trade, in my opinion. I appreciate that, Ethan. That's very kind words. Would you use your own judgment to try and avoid trading consolidating markets? Well, you have to obviously avoid trading in markets you know won't work for you, but you also need to think about trading the plan. If the plan says there's a trade, then you have to trade. That's the way that I see it as well. My strategy is profitable in the last 3 years. However, I'm in drawdown and I don't know what to do. Well, is it drawdown that you are expecting? Because if you're profitable and you've been trading for 3 years, then you can look at your data and say, okay, I am okay with averaging a drawdown of a set amount. If it's happening in the live markets now, then you shouldn't really be surprised and confused with what to do in that drawdown. It should be expected that you can lose a certain amount of trades in a row, and you should know what to do before going live. That should be the situation there. New tariffs imposed on EU countries. Wonder if it will affect the market much. I mean, it definitely will affect the market, but like you said, how much is definitely will be interesting, because I think Trump said that he says, I no longer feel obliged to think purely of peace. And that was apparently 3 hours ago, so that's an interesting statement. There we go. I've done more for NATO than any other person. Now NATO should do something for the United States. I'm assuming he wants NATO to help him take over Greenland. Yeah, 25% tariffs he's looking for. But it's true. The American side of NATO is massive compared to every other country in Europe. What are your thoughts on a trading stop loss? Isn't it a compromise with the mindset of emotions during trading? The issue with trading stop loss is when you trail a stop loss, what's to say that price can't just retrace that level and then continue to take profit? It really does, I think, make trading more complicated. For most beginners, having a stop loss and a take profit and just holding to the stop loss or the take profit, it will just be so much easier for you to trade. Super easy. The more complicated you make your trading, i.e. by adding management decisions, the harder it will be. I will never trail my stop loss. The only situation I would trail my stop loss is perhaps in swing trading. I know a lot of swing traders. I'll show you an example here. So let's say they are shorting from this level. They'll short from this level, they have their stop loss above the high, and they won't have a take profit. So their take profit will basically be not set. They have a stop loss set, but they won't have a take profit set. So let's say price continues dropping down and they break the structure here. Perhaps they'll drag their stop loss, obviously past break even, down to, let's say, this level. And that might get hit, that might not get hit. There we go, it gets hit. But then we break structure to the downside. Let's say this didn't get hit, break structure to the downside, to move it to the next bit of structure. And then let's say this keeps dropping and we break structure again, they move it down to the next piece of structure. So they're not looking to get out of a trade at a take profit, And I feel like that only really works on the higher time frames when you can catch a full move. Whereas if you're not looking to catch a full move, like I'm not looking to catch a massive, 1,000 pip move or 400 pip move. I'm looking to capture a small little bit of the move. If you go in the high time frame, my trades will seem like absolutely nothing at all. It could be 1 4-hour candle, but I'll have a break of structure, a retest, push up, but it looks so small on the higher time frame. And that's when trading stops is really, really good in my opinion. Lower time frames, when you see we're breaking structure, then we're retesting all the way back down, then we're going back up, then we're breaking again. I feel like it's too messy to have trading stops, but if it works for you, then obviously definitely continue doing so. But I don't think it is the best way to trade. GJ looked great this morning. Yeah, it seems quite messy though. Obviously, we just did fill the gap, which is not a surprise. I wonder if people could actually backtest a strategy just trading gaps, because that would be quite interesting to see the result. So I'm guessing the gap will most likely fill the majority of the time on the either Friday night or the Monday morning. And it seems kind of like a no-brainer that the gaps will fill. Like there, you could have made yourself 60 pips or so. But also the downside of doing that is you have to think of, okay, where do I put my stop loss? If it's 60 pips, perhaps you go for a 1-to-1 or you go for a 1-to-2. It does make it a bit more complicated. There is somebody who did gap trading. Well, I probably think there's someone who's done every type of trading, to be honest. What strategy do you recommend for people who have full-time work? You're probably better off trading on the higher time frames. So I say 4-hour and above. Daily is probably the most ideal, but again, it's quite a difficult time frame to trade from what I've seen. See, the 4-hour, it's not too bad. Right now this is quite messy, but you have obviously a breaker structure here. We've retested back into that structure and then we've dropped down. Would have been a nice trade, but you will get very, very few setups. If you're comparing your results to somebody who's trading 15-minute, 5-minute or hourly time frame, something like that, they're not going to get as many trades. Your backtesting won't look as complete as this, because you might have a month or two with no trades. And that's definitely hard as someone who works full time. Because if you think about someone who works full time, they're probably trying to get to the position where they can trade full time. And you can't trade full time really without trading with prop firms. So trading with prop firms, you need to make a certain amount of profit within a certain amount of time. You don't want to take too long in a prop firm challenge, which makes it difficult. What strategy do you use for your trading? Just breaks and retests. Very simple trading. Don't want to make it complicated. The simpler, the better. But if we're not setting a profit target, I've seen people who could have taken 50k and ended up with 20k by just trading stop loss and greed. Well, definitely. But you have to think about, there are going to be situations. Someone just mentioned Trader Nick, and Trader Nick, if you watch his videos, you'll notice this a lot. He'll have certain trades which, the majority of his trades, from what I've seen over the past few years, there'll either be small losses, small wins, then he'll get those 1 or 2 big trades every couple of months, where he'll just be in that trade for ages, just keep trading the stop, and he'll make so much profit on those trades. And if he obviously took it at a 1-to-2 or a 1-to-3, or didn't trail it, then he would have missed out on the whole move. What's your max drawdown? It's not too high, to be honest. Last year, I think the biggest drawdown I had was 4% or something like that. It wasn't too high at all. Do you agree that the reason you have been testing the 5-minute time frame is because you barely get a setup on the 15-minute? I assume you want to enter trades more frequently since you are trying to stream daily. That is not the case, actually. The reason I'm testing the 5-minute time frame is because I found that it works better on EU than the 15. I've tested the 15, I've tested the 5, and the 5 seems to work better. And for the strategy I wanted to test, it doesn't work as well with the 15. And, you know, I don't stream New York session, and I'm testing the strategy in New York session. So it's not something that I'd be like, okay, now I'm going to stream all day, both sessions. That's not really the goal. I just wanted a strategy to test and see if it works. If it works, then I'm looking to automate it. And automate it, I'm trying to turn it into an algorithm, so I don't actually have to sit on the charts and trade it. That's why you probably noticed that the strategy is so simple. It's just one break of structure closed above a high and I'm buying. 1 to 2 risk reward, and that's it. It's really, really simple, because you can't code a strategy that's not simple. The higher time frame is so easy. I mean, if it was so easy, everybody would trade the higher time frame. If you're not trading GBP USD, what would be your second pair and why? I would say gold. Gold would definitely be up there. It's a pair I used to trade a lot and I was profitable, so I'd probably just go back to gold. Because I know it works. And I knew that, I knew that I could be profitable because I've done it before. Good morning, how's it going? Markets are being very slow, but we have actually broken a structure to the upside now, which might make it a bit more interesting. Will definitely make it more interesting. Did you trade today? We haven't actually had any trades yet, so definitely not. I only trade gold ever since Trump became president again. It's satisfying to trade only one pair. Definitely. I feel like one trade a day, one pair, one setup, one time frame. It's the best way to trade, especially for simple trading. I took an L shorting GBP USD. I don't really see a reason to short, to be honest, unless you were trading pre-London session. But at the moment, we haven't really had any bearish signs. Do you advise risking more on evaluations? I wouldn't say I advise it, but the way that I see it personally is that an evaluation phase is a phase that you want to be on for as little time as possible, because you're not getting paid. You're just making profits just to get onto the funded stage. The more time you trade and spend on the phase 1 or phase 2, the more you're making and not earning. You want to earn as soon as possible. So in my situation, I'm risking more in the evaluation phases so that I can get onto the funded stage as quickly as possible. But in doing so, that means you're risking more personal capital, because you're more likely to fail a phase 1 if you're risking double or triple the normal risk of somebody else. So you have to consider that also. Do you believe in flipping small accounts? I do not. Obviously, that sounds very hypocritical because I've done that many, many times on my channel. but that's mainly for entertainment. If I'm putting £10, £25 into a small account to flip, then I'm not thinking, oh, this is going to be my long-term trading account. No, it's just for fun. It's just like somebody who will bet money on a football game or something like that, you know. I just do it for fun. And in my opinion, if you have trading knowledge, it's probably a bit better than gambling. I've only got 2% left on my evaluation phase. How would you go about getting it back to break even? Well, definitely don't risk 2%. You know, risk 1% or less on your next trade. And yeah, maybe even limit yourself to 0.5, 0.25%, something like that. And that will make it easier for you to get back to break even. Just risk the full 2%, bro. I mean, it's probably not the best idea, but yeah. What time frames do you use? 15-minute. Only the 15-minute. That is it. The more time frames, the more confusing. That's the way that I see it. And the more confusing you're trading, the more mistakes that can be made. And obviously we don't want mistakes. We want our trading to be super, super simple. What's your highest score in flipping accounts? I feel like my best account flip was my first account flip, which was £10 to £340. And that was in a couple of hours on gold, which was amazing. You know, making a return like that very quickly was crazy. But with those market conditions, it was possible basically every single day. Whereas nowadays, it's very difficult because we're not getting the same volatility as we were getting back then. But I did that account flip in 2020. You can go back on my channel and see. It was the first video I actually posted, £10 to 340. And it was definitely good fun. Let's just say that. How do you warm up for the trading day? I don't need to warm up. I just wake up, boom, ready. And I feel like that's the case because I spent so many times waking up and then getting onto the charts. Because I've backtested so many times, I know exactly what I want to see. I know when I want to see it. Everything's just so simple for me now. I can open the chart and I could open the chart. Obviously this morning it was like this. I know exactly what I'm looking for. I know the high, I know the low. So if there's no break of that high, there's no buy. There's no break of that low, then there's no sell. Very simple. So you don't really need to be in the right frame of mind to enter trades. You just need to know what you're looking for and when to look for it. That's it. Well, just like I said, break of the high or the low. What's your take on moving averages? I don't really have an opinion on them. I know people that use them as an extra confluence for exits or entries, but I've never actually used them. So I can't give you my own experiences because, yeah, I don't have any experiences. Everybody keeps asking what I want to see. It's quite clear. I want break, close above or below. And if we don't get that, then there will be no trade. How I time my entries. I'm just trading, you know, if the entry's between 8 and 12, then I'm going to take it. Your edge is super simple. Of course. I don't feel like complicating makes anything better. Gold still doing nothing. Euro doing nothing. The pound is actually the only pair that's actually really doing anything at the moment. And we're still struggling to break. I use a fixed risk reward, so I don't care about the highs or the lows for the stop loss. In your opinion, what is the optimal amount of money to start a personal account for the first time? Again, that depends on many factors. Depends on how much money you have, how much you are comfortable risking. I'd say nothing under 250 to 500 pounds, because if it's under that, you can't properly risk manage. If you think people trying to start an account with 50 pounds or 100 pounds, 100 pounds, if you have a 20, 30 pip stop loss, you're going to be losing 2 to 3% per trade. So you can't risk manage like a normal 1% risk. Whereas your 500 pounds, you will be able to. But most people can't afford, spare 500 pounds to just put into an account to trade their first account with. So that's where it is. It's quite a difficult situation. And obviously, if you go too high, then you have the emotional effect of trading with too much money. So you kind of want to trade with enough that you can risk manage, but also not too much that you won't be able to actually trade it normally. You want to trade normally so that you are able to trade your plan effectively. If you can't trade your plan effectively, then it's worthless even having a plan, which is what you also need to consider. At what point will you start realizing, oh, these losses are quite big or these losses are quite small? You don't want them to feel too small that it's insignificant so that you don't follow your plan. You don't want them to be too big that you're like, oh, I don't know if I want to actually risk this much. Or perhaps you go in slight profits and you think, oh, I'm going to close, I want to take those profits. You want to kind of be in the sweet spot between those two. So money that if you lost it tomorrow, it doesn't affect your life in any way. That's kind of the outlook you want to have. But that doesn't mean you should try and lose it overnight, obviously. According to your experience, if I want to compound an account, how often can I withdraw? Well, if you're looking to compound, the easiest way to compound is to not withdraw any money, because withdrawing just ruins the compounding effect. If it is your main income, then you obviously will have to withdraw a set amount, but you have to accept the fact that your compounding won't be as great as somebody who isn't withdrawing any money, because the more you take out, the less you are going to gain from the compounding. If you make 10 grand and you want to take out 7 grand, 8 grand, your compounding is not going to be very good. What's your thoughts on Darwin X? I mean, I think it's a good idea for people who perhaps aren't as good on prop firms, but with Darwin, you have to trade for quite a while, paying a monthly fee whilst getting nothing in return. Whereas you get to a stage where you might be able to earn money, you won't be able to get the seed capital, whatever, but you have to trade for quite a while before you actually get to that stage. But I know people that do quite well on Darwin. I see it on Twitter quite a lot. And if you're doing quite well and you want to gain some extra capital, I think it's a no-brainer, really. If you want to pay the fee, obviously, which is monthly. I know for most people it's Yeah, quite a lot of money monthly just to spend for no reason. So you look, this candle, you're probably thinking that that's going to be the break of structure. But no, this is why you wait for the close. We've now closed bearish, which means we didn't break the structure. We tested the high, we haven't broken the structure. That's why you don't want to prematurely get into trades or get into setups, because it might end up not actually breaking the structure, which is clearly what we've seen in this situation. And now we're coming back down into the zone for now. Why do you trade in a bank holiday? Why not? It's not a bank holiday in England, I don't think. So that's the thing with trading. Because bank holidays don't actually affect you in any way, you just wake up like it's a normal day. Like if I didn't check the news or anything, I wouldn't even know that it's a bank holiday in America. Have I ever tried trading US indices? I traded US 30 for a while, I think in 2021 or 2022, I can't remember exactly when, but it was quite profitable for me. I made some nice profits. I actually even did a video on YouTube, if I just get it up, trading US 30. Let me just find it. Yeah, ignore the interesting beard at the time. But yeah, I traded US 30. And yeah, I don't know if I shared my profits or not. But yeah, I used to make a decent amount trading US 30. It was quite fun. I used to trade at the same time every day. It was obviously the New York Stock Exchange open. Used to trade it every single day, and it was, I'd say, very profitable for me. The only downside that I would say about trading it was you have to catch the trend, or it will just go without you. So I don't know if it's the same now. Obviously, there's lots of volatility back then. But yeah, you look at these moves. You look at the moves 230, boom. Look at the move 230, boom. Every single day. 230, if you don't catch the move, then like even here, 230, boom. And you get a crazy volatility. So every day, New York Stock Exchange open, there was that crazy volatility. Look, 230 here, the crazy move. 230, crazy wicks, and then the trend. So if you didn't catch that move, again, look, 230, we get the trend. So if you didn't catch that trending move at 230, it was pointless. And you kind of have to be in place before that happens. So again, if you're trying to trade on the wick or on the move, you're going to get higher spread. You're going to get caught out in some cases. You kind of have to catch the move first. But it's definitely a good pair to trade, and it was quite fun. But I wasn't trading it. It's very difficult to trade on prop firm accounts from my experiences. So I was just trading it with personal capital. And yeah, I'd say it's quite risky, especially when you can get, these big wicks, which makes it obviously a bit more risky. People hit the like button. Definitely, Carl. They should hit the like button. Everybody watching should hit the like button. We should get 200 likes on the video right now. We've only got 70 right now. It's crazy. If you were to change one rule in the prop firm trading rules, what would it be? I would remove any max risk per trade rule. I would also remove consistency rules. The main reason consistency rules do not matter, in my opinion. If you can get paid out after one winning trade, that's the best way to help traders. Prop firms always say that they're just trying to look out for the traders and make them profitable, but it's not really making sense. Prop firms make their money from losing traders. They wouldn't have any money to pay out people if the vast majority of traders didn't lose money. So they do not really care about you becoming a great trader or not. That's just not really the it's not in their best interest, really. So I would remove the consistency rules, the ones that are saying you need to trade for 5 days, you can't have more than 40% of your profit made on one singular day. It's not a great rule in my opinion. Okay, apparently Keir Starmer's about to do a emergency press conference or something, so maybe this will cause some market movements. So we'll see what this guy's got to say. I think England, they sent one soldier to Greenland or something. Very interesting. Too busy on helping Greenland, it's crazy. To focus on his own country. Wouldn't you say that trading is not too different from currency? I didn't actually trade US indices in London session. I traded them in New York session. That's why there was so much volatility. If you're trading the New York Stock Exchange Open, that's when you get the true volatility for US indices. That's when you get the big moves. You get hundreds of pips every single day, and it was great. And especially obviously in 2021, we were still in lockdown, so there were still quite volatile markets. Starmer said we were close allies to the USA. Yeah, he seems to just say what he thinks will get him more popular at the time. But as we know, that doesn't really seem to work. Because I think he has the lowest approval rating of any prime minister. So that's definitely something. Are you trading that London breakout strategy you were backtesting yesterday? No. This strategy here that I was backtesting is very different to this one here. Firstly, the one I was testing yesterday is on a EU, on the 5-minute time frame. This right now is GU 15-minute. And I'm trading actually in London session, whereas the one yesterday was slightly different. Labour is a flop. Yeah, Labour is definitely not a good party. And that's why they are losing in all of the polls. So, but we have to obviously put up with them until 2029, which will be an interesting few years. That's for sure. How do you decide which pairs to focus on solely? What are the factors you consider for choosing your main pair? I would say pick ones that have volatility in your trading hours. So if you're trading like US 30, you wouldn't be trading in Asian session or Tokyo. You'd be trading in US session. You want to pick one that has volatility when you are trading, but also one that actually works for your strategy. So I trade US 30 different than what I would trade gold, or different from what I would trade GBP USD. So you have to also think about that. Easy way is just to test on multiple different pairs. So you select, when I was actually testing this strategy, I selected GU, I selected gold, AU, and I think EU as well. Obviously it's many years ago. And those were the ones I actually tested. And GU was the best for me, worked in the London session the best, so that's the one I actually selected. But I would say if you pick one of the majors, you probably have a nice time trading. I'm not sure why you like her party. I'm pretty sure, wasn't she investigated for stealing funds or something from the party? That's just what I've seen. How did you set your high and low breakout areas? Wasn't here when you began. Well, it's the most recent high, the most recent low. Look, here you go. She was holding £800,000 of money, which is meant to be with the party. But they'll never win, of course. You know, you think Jeremy Corbyn's going to be Prime Minister? That would definitely be a sign to lead the country. Have you ever thought about moving somewhere else in the world to avoid the high tax in the UK? Definitely, but I don't feel like just tax is a reason to move somewhere. There are obviously benefits to most countries, but I wouldn't just move everything to a country just because they have low tax. You know, England has a lot of different benefits, which I think outweigh the, you know, if you're just looking at finances. How do you identify key zones? Just looking at structure. So just look at which points in the market have consistently been reacted to. That's kind of a good way to look at structure. That's the way that I would look at it. And then you will get a better understanding naturally. I'm going to the moon. I'm assuming you're trading gold, right? I can't remember what you said. But yeah, basically doesn't look fun at the moment. Again, we're still stuck in this range here. Failed to break that high. EU looking good for shorts. I mean, EU is definitely looking good for shorts, yeah. Definitely. We've broken out of, you know, this zone here. We've broken out of this zone here. But again, I don't trade EU. I don't know how it's going to react to these sort of levels. But yeah, we've definitely broken out the structure now in the morning. What's your POV on USD JPY? Again, we've just filled the gap. And now we're just consolidating. When there's consolidation like this, where you've had like 5-6 candles in a row doing nothing, you want to wait for a clear sign of movement. That could either be a break of structure to the upside, and obviously there's not really any structure here. We've struggled to break the structure on multiple different occasions. Obviously you have these two wicks here. We obviously have this structure down here, kind of the main piece, but also if this structure, we've also broken out this structure, filled the gap, and now we are just consolidating in this range here. So again, there would be no trade for me on USD JPY. And again, obviously I don't trade Euro, but there's no setups for me as of yet anyway. And obviously GU, the pair I do trade, we've just come back into the zone now. Back into the consolidation bit again. I remember I said earlier that price would go up, then it would come back down. Then either break the outside, then come back down. Again, that's kind of exactly what we are seeing right now. Not really any solid movement to the upside or the downside as of yet. Would you normally listen to some tunes while trading? Any favorites? I don't listen to any music. I I don't like music, to be honest. The only time I'd ever listen to music is if I'm driving, but I would never sit down and listen to music. I don't see the point, to be honest. I know a lot of people will always listen to music, but I prefer silence than music. To what point can you depend on your intuition to take a trade? You should never depend on your intuition to take a trade. You should be trading based on technicals and your trading plan, not your intuition. Because intuition, let's say you wake up and you're in a bad mood or you've had bad news in your life, you're going to be in a different state of mind than if you woke up and you're super happy, ready to trade. And then your brain will obviously be telling you different things. So you might want to trade more because you're happy. You might make profits. You might actually follow the plan. If you're just trading from your intuition, then it's going to be a disaster. Do you train any martial arts? Not at the moment. I used to train jiu-jitsu around 3 to 4 hours every day. And I also used to have a Muay Thai personal trainer who used to come over every single week. So I used to train those two. But it was ruining my trading because I was training from around 6:30 to 7:30 in the morning for the first session. So then by the time you get home, it's obviously very cold. You've just done an hour of training, then you have to start trading at 8. So it didn't really benefit me, timing wise, which was not great. Not liking music. Yeah, I just don't really see the appeal, to be honest. I know a lot of people that like it, but I just don't really see the benefit. I'd much rather watch a YouTube video than listen to music. Definitely. Do you prefer trading fully systematic or do you use a bit of discretion? I am fully systematic. I think discretion is what leads traders to failure. Because if I'm adding a bit of discretion to my trading, I could have a setup right now that says buy. It says buy because I've got years of data and pages of data that's telling me that this is a buy. If I then say, oh, it looks like a sell to me, or it looks bearish from my point of view, then I'm not going to take the trade. This means that all of that data is pointless. Because why collect the data and why have a trading plan and everything if you're just going to say, well, I don't think it's going to buy, so I'm not going to take the trade. If that trade loses, that's going to be even worse. Because if you don't take a trade because you don't think it's going to win, and then that trade loses, it's going to reinforce in your mind that, okay, if I do that every time, then I can stop losses. But then what if the next 5 times it wins and you miss out on 5 solid winners? It's very bad. It's the same situation as if you break a trading rule and win that trade. I'd say that's actually worse because it reinforces in your mind again, I broke the rule and I won, so it's okay to do. It's like if you're trading a dog. If you give them a treat or if they do something bad, they're going to get rewarded for the bad thing. So they're going to think that it's actually a good thing to break that rule and do something bad. And it sounds very peculiar, but you want to act as if you are a dog whilst trading. Would you reward yourself for breaking a rule? You know, for stealing food or something like a dog would do? You think if you break a rule and you make profit, that's exactly what you're doing. You are technically stealing food and getting a treat for it. which you do not want to be a dog that's not obedient. Just treat that in your trading like you are a dog. It sounds very odd, but it's definitely a good analogy in my opinion. What's your best advice to disconnect from trading after your trading window? Again, this is very simple. You want to have a dedicated trading environment. So I have this trading setup, multiple monitors, everything in a different room for everything else. And if you have a different area of the house for trading, obviously it depends on the size of your house, depends on where you're living. You can have a dedicated area, whether this is a part of the house or a room of the house, it's only used for trading. So you only go into that area or that room when you are trading. Once your trading window is complete, you turn off your computer and you leave that area. You don't go back to the area until perhaps you're going back to do some backtesting or until you are trading the next day. Because that will then say in your mind, when I'm in this room, I'm trading. When I'm out of this room, I don't have to think about trading. That's the best way to do it. If you're trading from every room in the house, then you're never going to be able to fully disconnect from actual trading. Whereas once you limit yourself to only trading from one setup in your house, then you'll definitely see the improvements with focus when you are trading, and also being able to switch off from the markets when you are not trading. An easy way to do it actually would be to go and do a hobby after trading. So perhaps you complete trading, you go and play tennis, you go on a walk, you go and play golf, just something that could completely take your mind off trading. And perhaps don't even take your phone, so you can't even be tempted to check the markets. People do it a lot. They'll complete their trading hours, they'll go out, they'll go into another room, then they'll just quickly check it on their phone. Again, not good at all. I even know some people that only have the trading applications on their computer. So if I'm not sat here at the desk, then I won't have any option to even take a trade or check a trade because I'm not in my trading environment, which again will lead you to only taking the best setups and not making any silly management decisions. Because the biggest mistakes that I've seen traders make tend to happen when they are not at their setup. If you just quickly check your phone hours after you've entered the trade, just checking it on your phone can lead you to either close it early because you think, oh, it doesn't look like it's going to continue further, which can again lead to very silly decisions. What's your bias on UJ? I don't trade UJ, so I don't have a bias, to be honest, but I described it what I was seeing a minute ago. I am an obedient dog. That is great to hear. That is great. Do you have a fixed risk reward? I do. So let's say I was shorting here. I go on my template, 1 to 3, and that would be my risk reward, like that. Very, very simple. Why didn't you go on a lower time frame? Why would I go on a lower time frame? That's the question. Why not a 15-minute? Why lower? Doesn't make sense. I wouldn't say the time frame really matters that much. 5 minutes not going to be more profitable than 15. It just depends on how you trade it. Low time frame is just noise. It definitely can be. It definitely can be. I say the higher time frame is definitely clearer. It's easier to see what's happening. It's easier to see breaks of structure. Everything just happens a lot clearer. And like you said, there's less noise on the higher time frames. Gold 5,000 incoming. I mean, it wouldn't surprise me if we did just keep rallying on gold. But again, gold is very sensitive to stuff that's going on in the world. So you need to obviously keep an eye on that first. But obviously, if you're just intraday trading, then it doesn't really matter. What do you think about NZD CAD? Let's have a look. Wait. There we go. Go into the short. I mean, there's not really any trade for me here. There's no breaks to structure or anything, so I wouldn't have entered any trade personally. But yeah, I mean, I wish you good luck on that position. Best advice on scaling prop firm capital. My best advice is to use your profits from one account to scale into another account. Make profit on your 10K to buy a 50K. Make profit on your 50K to buy a 100K account. And just scale that and continue growing. Because then it means any gains you make are risk-free. Any accounts you purchase are risk-free. So the whole process will essentially be risk-free. And it will only cost you, if you obviously pass on the first go, your initial $10,000 account fee. Which, if we look how much that would cost, if we just go on FTMO, for example, and obviously FTMO is I'd say one of the most expensive firms. You know, if we're looking here, we see $10,000, 89 euros. If we put that in pounds, put that in pounds here, 10,000. So it costs you £77. And that can scale you to $1 million if you do it correctly. And look, they're actually running an offer. That's pretty cool. What do you think about high risk to reward traders? I don't think high risk reward traders are the best traders in the world. The reason being, realistically, will you be able to hold to a 1 to 50 risk to reward? Probably not. Will you be able to hold your full position? Probably not. Whereas if you have a super low win rate, which is what a lot of them actually have, they don't understand that if you go into drawdown, you have to make more than what you lost to get out of drawdown. A simple way to look at it is if you lose 50% of your account, you have to make 100% profit to get that back. So if you lose 40 trades in a row, like a lot of these traders probably could do if they're trying to hold for a 1 to 50, then you have to make way more than 40% to actually make that profit back. And if you only have a 10-15% win rate, on paper it's profitable, but overall, if you've lost 20-30 trades in a row, let's say, are you really going to be able to hold that until take profit? For the majority of people that I've seen, based on normal trading psychology, they probably won't be able to. So the profitability of their strategy is fully dependent on how solid their emotions are. And I think it is a lot better and a lot easier just to trade fairly decent risk rewards, 1 to 3, 1 to 4, or even 1 to 2 can be very profitable, and not try and focus on the highest risk to reward possible. I don't really see the benefit, to be honest. It's bank holiday for the US. I am well aware of that. I'm well aware. Do you use the COT report with your system? I do not use any fundamentals or anything external for my trading. I'm fully technical, fully mechanical. I made a simple and systematic strategy that I backtested and live traded profitably for the last 4 months. I sometimes feel like doubt, can something so simple work long term? I mean, it definitely can. It definitely can. I mean, if you have the tested data over the past few years, then that should be solid reasoning for that it can work. You know, let's say you started that strategy in 2021 and it worked for 21, 2, 3, 4, 5, then that should give you enough confidence, obviously. And if you've been trading it profitably for 4 months, then it should give you extra confidence in your strategy's profitability long term. Do you trade Forex pairs only? Yes, I do. What's your win rate last year? Again, people asking what's your win rate, what's this and that. Again, it does not matter. Your win rate does not matter. If you're asking someone their win rate, I could have a 50% win rate and lose money. You could have a 70% win rate and lose money. But you can also have a 20% win rate and make money. Win rate does not matter in trading. It only matters in combination with everything else, all of your other stats. Why 4x only? I mean, why not? Why would I need to trade anything else? If 4x is making money, then why does that mean I have to trade something else? It doesn't really make sense. Is it better to scale my capital than target a higher percent profit every month? Definitely. Because let's say you're making, let's say 2% every month, for example, and you're trading with 100K. You're making 2%, so it's $2,000 every month, which is not bad from perms or personal account, obviously. But let's say instead of trying to push that for 20% every month, you're then looking to scale your capital to 500K instead of 100K. You scale to 500K, you don't have to make any more profit, you just pass more challenges, and you've got more funded accounts. Your 2% is now worth $10,000 every single month. So that 2K turned into 10,000. Have you had to change your strategy in any way? Of course not. You just had to buy more challenges, pass more challenges, and that 2% was turned from 2K into 10K. Perhaps you use your 10K to purchase challenges where you can get to $1 million. Your $1 million is now returning you, obviously 2% of $1 million is $20,000 every single month. So you're making 2% on 3 different account sizes, but one is $2,000, one is $10,000, and one is $20,000. So scaling your capital rather than your profits can mean your profits can multiply massively without you having to change anything in your strategy. Have you thought about trading the GBP/USD on futures? I actually look at it sometimes. Obviously, this is a GBP/USD future. But I'd only obviously trade it on futures firms. But they don't really fit my style as of yet. They usually have very strict consistency rules, which I'm not really in favor of. But I guess we'll see what happens with obviously CFD firms and other futures firms in the future. I'm not opposed to switching, let's just say that. Very boring market so far. We just seem to be consolidating, which is kind of expected, to be honest. Kind of expected. It's not really a huge surprise. Are you trading the ORB strategy? I just trade my own strategy. I don't name it these weird acronyms or anything. USD bank holiday, doesn't that affect the market? Of course it will affect the market, but I haven't backtested not trading bank holidays, so I'm just going to trade them as normal. Thoughts on ACG? I'm guessing that's Alpha Capital. And you can see here, one Alpha Capital payout, another Alpha Capital payout, another one, and another one. So I traded them, got 4 payouts last year, which was good. Had good trading conditions. And yeah, didn't really have any issues apart from one denied payout, which I ended up getting approved on, which was good. So it would have been free, but I actually got 4 payouts, which was fun. What are you waiting for exactly? I'm waiting for a break of structure. We haven't had any break of structure, so there hasn't been a single trade yet. And also those joining who aren't aware of my trading history, you can see we've had a decent amount of prop firm payouts. We've had payouts from E8, from Aqua Funded, from True Forex funds, from FTMO, from Alpha Capital, more from True Forex funds. But this is my best trading period. Look at this. Nice, like 40 something K in payouts. It hasn't been too bad. Hasn't been too bad at all. So if you do want to learn how I trade, you can check out linktrading.com. There's a link down below, and I show you exactly how I trade with prop firms, how I trade my personal accounts, and how I make my profits. So be sure to check that out. What firms are you with now? I'm currently trading this E8 challenge account. We have lost 2 trades. Hasn't been a great start to the year, but it's okay. We're just trading the plan, and we will see what happens. And both of these trades were obviously the exact same strategy that I'm trading normally. So yeah, in my mind, if you trade the plan, drawdown does not matter, because drawdown, as we know, is inevitable. You're going to lose. You're going to trade normally, and drawdown is normal. So those people who, let's say, purchase an account like this 100k account, and you go through and say, I'm not going to have any drawdown, you are delusional. If you think you're going to just win every single trade and pass immediately, then yeah, you probably need to look back at your data and realize, oh well, I can actually lose, and I can lose very frequently, which is probably the case for most people. Can you go over the 2 trades you took? I can probably find one of them here. Let me just check the date on the trades. 15th. Yeah, so one of them was actually let me think. Yeah, it was actually long here, I'm pretty sure. So based on my strategy, we've broken structure to the upside. We've broken the high, then we retested in, and we just broke structure again. I've noticed at the start of this year, the first week or so, every day was breaking structure in one direction and then breaking structure in the other direction. And it wasn't giving, good setups for my strategy. But the trade was valid, so I had to take the setup, and that's completely fine. Again, you see here, we break to the upside again. So obviously good structure for the upside. If we're trading like this, it's a good bullish trend. But then we break to the downside. So we've been kind of trading in multiple different directions every single day, which obviously if you're trading a trend following strategy, then it isn't great, because if we're not following a trend, then trend following strategies don't make money. It's a very simple way of putting that. So guys, make sure you subscribe to the channel. Make sure you don't miss any videos I'm posting. I post a video every 2 days on my channel, which is great. I like to keep you guys updated with what's going on. What time do you start trading every day? And how would you know if a day is not a tradable day? Well, my trading time opens at 8 a.m. But just based on timings and the 50-minute time frame, I can't have a trade until at least 8:30. So I get on the charts at around 8 a.m. and I see what's happening. I'll mark up the high or the low, the most recent high or low. Then that'll give me a good foundation for the next couple of hours. If we break one of those highs, we break one of those lows, then I'll look to trade. And I'll trade from 8 a.m. to 12 p.m. And if it's at 11:30 or 11, I can quite clearly see if there's going to be a trade. Very simple. How would you know if a day is not tradable? Again, if there's news, I don't really like trading. So let's say we had high impact news in an hour or something like that, then I wouldn't trade. Mainly because I don't feel like you can get the full amount of volatility out of the trade, especially if you're only holding it for an hour or so. Also, if we have just, let's say it was this situation, we just kept pushing up, then I would not trade, because the likelihood of this breaking the slowdown here would be very, very slim. Obviously, we don't have that situation. We have different high and a different low, but that is obviously a possibility. Five best forex prop firms to use. An easy way to find out which firm to use is what I do. I go onto prop firm match and go on the challenges. Then I will literally see all the rules. So I'll look in here and say profit target, which one looks best for me. I'm used to a 8 and 5 or a 10 and 5. Then I look at the daily loss and the max loss. Again, this is super important because I'm only looking to take a challenge usually if the risk is 5 and 10. So I want to have a max daily drawdown of 5% and an overall drawdown of 10%. And then I'll look at the profit split. This is always 80. Payout frequency, again, I want 14 days. I don't want to wait a month for a payout, just not really good for me. And then obviously price, but that's less important because if you pass, you'll get the money back anyway. How many trades have I taken today? 0 trades. A lot of people probably watching who haven't seen my other videos or haven't seen my style of trading. And to put it into perspective, I only really take a maximum of 1 trade per day. And this is because my trading, one setup, one time frame, one strategy. So one trade is really the only outcome. And the only way that I would possibly take more than 1 trade is perhaps if we break to the upside, I lose, and then we break to the downside of the... So let's say this situation here. If we break to the upside, retest, I buy, it's stopped out, and the same situation, but it's a valid setup, then I could potentially obviously get into a sell position. Will you be doing live every day? I hope so. I hope so. People seem to be enjoying it, so why not? Are you looking at the higher time frames for GBP USD or only 15? I only look at the 15. If you look at the 4 hour, again, it wouldn't really help me in any way. I only look at the 15-minute time frame for my style of trading anyway. For other people, they love top-down analysis, but it doesn't really help me in any way. why is the 15-minute the best time frame for taking a trade? It's the best time frame for me because it just fits perfectly. I mean, it fits how I like my trades, because I know that I don't want to have to wait 15 hours, 17 hours for a trade to hit take profit. I want to be in and out of trades in a couple of hours, and that is easily doable with the 15-minute time frame. You're using E8 Markets 100k account? Yes, 100k. With backtesting, would you be okay with a 24 to 30% return yearly? Again, it's not just the return that I'm looking at. I'm also looking at the drawdown. So if the drawdown is good, then the return matters less. So if the drawdown is, let's say, 4% with a 24% return, that is very, very good. Whereas if I'm making a 24% return and my drawdown is 20%, then it's less impressive. But yeah, 5% max drawdown, then 24 to 30% is a very, very good return. Coin name, please. I'm not a coin trader. Is this live trading going to carry on for the whole challenge? Potentially. Potentially. You know, it depends. Obviously, if I'm trying to record a video or something, then that would be a bit different. And obviously, trading with funded accounts, I think this E8 account is only one step, so I won't have to go phase 1, phase 2, then funded. I can just pass phase 1, hopefully, and then we'll see what happens after that. But I had to pass it in the first place, and that's obviously easier said than done. It's not easy to pass prop firm accounts, as we all know from the stats. The vast majority of people end up failing. Would you rather get a job first and trade, or trade with whatever money you have? I would say it's always better to get a job and then trade, because if you think about it, if you have no solid source of income, then it's very hard to trade in the first place. So having income, having money coming in will just help you a lot. Hi from India, watching you, bro, love it. Thank you very much. Hello to India. Been following you for years, Will. Top quality as always. Thank you very much. That is greatly appreciated. What is your opinion on ICT? I mean, I think he's a bit of a weirdo, to be honest. I always hear you saying to pass quickly. If my strategy is 1-to-1 risk to reward and might take 2 to 4 months, is that fine? Or how should I go about it? Um, I would say the best thing is just to trade your strategy normally. You don't want to trade something completely different from your normal strategy just to pass a prop firm. Obviously, the only way to pass quicker is by risking more. So by risking more, you're also in a situation of having a higher chance of losing. But that also means that the more you lose, the more personal capital you're having to spend. And if you're okay with that, then that is obviously okay to risk more. But then you have to think about prop firms nowadays are not favorable on people who risk more. So that might be another reason to just take it slowly. If it takes 2 months, then just wait 2 months. Like that's probably the best way to play it. One thing I've noticed after becoming profitable is that I care less about what others and how others trade. I stopped looking at people's trades on Instagram and TikTok. Is it the same for you? 100%. I barely follow any traders. I won't follow any traders that I'm not personally friends with now because I couldn't care less, like you said, about what some random guy is doing. I couldn't care less if he's selling and making money today. It does not affect me in any way. So an easy way to have full focus on your own trading is to unfollow people who are distracting you or perhaps making you jealous of their results or anything like that, because it will just affect your trading negatively, which you do not want. That would be more detrimental than anything else. Since you're on episode 8, how's the account coming? This is not episode 8. In the title it says E8 because that's the name of the prop firm account I'm trading. That's who the prop firm, their name. You're only here for the background noise and boredom. Well, yeah, I mean, I always like to have background noise. Like if I'm trading, I will usually have like a YouTube video or something playing. So I definitely agree with that. I think just trading in silence would be pretty boring. But I guess some people focus more with music. Some people focus more with a video playing or something. And some people focus more in complete silence. Or even some people play like white noise or something. So I guess it's however you focus best is the best way. No, I have taken 2 trades so far, but they did lose. So we are in 2% drawdown so far. Funding Ticks just closed its doors. Yeah, I did see that on Twitter, which is quite interesting. Very interesting. I think they were a futures firm, right? It's all good, Scott. I appreciate you joining in. Do you like football? I do not like football. Yeah, that is surprising they've shut down, to be honest. Very surprising. You still trade with FTMO? I don't have any FTMO accounts currently, but I would definitely be looking to trade with them this year. The main reason is because getting max allocation with FTMO would be a great thing to do. I think it's 400k. Then 2% profit is $8,000. That would be the goal. But obviously with prop firms, the hardest part is actually getting to the funded stage. Many people think keeping the funded accounts the hardest, but I don't think that matters as much as just passing, because you've got to make profit on phase 1 and phase 2. It's usually around 14-15%. When you're getting nothing for it, it can be quite demoralizing if it takes you quite a while. So I guess we'll see. Do you trade with futures prop firms? I do not. Now, while this is moving, we'll just do some back testing, just to keep us entertained. So this is a new strategy that I've been testing. So we'll see if we get any trades. Break of the low here. Have I ever been max allocated with FTMO? I have not. It's definitely a good goal to set though. I always think it's good to set a nice yearly goal for your trading. Perhaps that is getting to 100k funded or 200k funded or something like that. But obviously make sure it's achievable. Obviously this was a brutal trade here, 0.8 pips from the take profit. You want a goal that's achievable, but also one that's quite a good stretch for you. You don't want a goal that's, you know, make 5% profit, because that's not really a good goal in my opinion. What's the max I've had in funding at one time? I think it was around 700 or 800k. I'm not too sure, because I didn't trade the accounts on a copier. I didn't really have them all at once and combined it, and it wasn't visible obviously. I always had accounts in different stages. So one could be waiting for a payout, another one could be I'm getting my first funded account details from it, you know, things like that. So you're not really funded all of that at one time, but you technically are. Have prop firms ever restricted you? I have never actually been restricted. I've traded with high risk on multiple different prop firms, but since I traded prop firms mostly in 2022 and 2023, and less so in the past year or so, when they've started bringing in those restrictions, I have not actually had any restrictions, which is quite surprising really. But I'm not complaining. I'm not complaining in the slightest. I mean, if I don't have any restrictions, then I can trade however I like for now. But it wouldn't surprise me if I did start trading more with prop firms that I did get restricted, because yeah, it's kind of a no-brainer. Yeah, so because I've stopped copier trading, I've been trading rotating accounts, or when I do trade prop firms, I'll be trading one account will be one trade, the next account will be another trade or another account, just because it splits it up. It splits it up very nicely. It means that you have more drawdown. The more drawdown you have, the higher the chance you have of passing overall. And it definitely preserves your capital. Jesus Christ. I did not check that was NFP. Jesus. Have you been trading personal more than anything? Yes, yes. And the reason being, I took a break from prop firms when I had multiple prop firms shut down on me. So I had funded accounts with multiple firms. I was passing the challenges in multiple firms. And then they shut down. And obviously when that happens, it's not really a positive experience. That when you spend so much money and time passing to then not get the payout or anything from it, and not even getting refunds in some cases, it's not really a great situation. And you can probably imagine that does put you off trading with them. So if that is the situation you're in, then I definitely understand how annoying it can seem. Imagine putting in all that time and effort to pass phase 1, to pass phase 2, get onto the funded stage, and then make profit, and then you still don't get paid out because they then shut down. It's not a great feeling. And I can imagine that's even worse if it's your first prop firm challenge too, because that will feel even more painful, knowing you've done all of that for the first time and then you don't get any reward. It can be very, very annoying. And I can definitely resonate with people who have had that happen to them. See, you see in the backtesting here, when there's a lot of volume, the stop loss and take profit, although it is 10 pips and 20 pips, it does seem tiny. Downside of this is that the stop loss in the middle of the zone. The middle of the zone, so it's hard to Yeah, there we go. Comes up into the zone further before doing anything. Yeah, I've seen that G is now broken the highs, which is interesting. We'll see what happens now. I'm actually going to get a drink and I will be back in a second. Ooh, let's see what's going on. Not really much going on today, really. What is one thing that if it happens I can call myself a professional trader? Perhaps if you make a living from trading. Let me try to fix my camera. There we go. We are back. So, do you do energy drinks? I do not. I don't need energy drinks. I wake up and I trade. Because I feel like once you start drinking energy drinks or you start drinking coffee, you then become reliant on that to focus and to actually have energy. Whereas if you just get used to just drinking water, as you see, I just drink water, you're then used to just functioning on water. At what point did you go full time and left your job if you had one? I didn't actually leave a job because I didn't have a job when I was trading. I made money through reselling, clothes and designer stuff like that. which made me able to afford trading. And I I feel like that gave me an advantage because I wasn't in a position where I had to make enough to be able to quit a job or anything like that. It was more the situation where I could basically trade from day one. I was 16, I had no bills, I had no expenses, I had no mortgage or anything. So it was super simple for me to just go, well, okay, I'm going to trade full time. It was during lockdown, so there were no real reasons for me to not, fully lock in on something like trading. And I'm definitely happy that I did do so because it meant that I've had so far a very, very nice life so far. I feel like trading does give you quite an enjoyable life too. It's always good fun. And the markets are always challenging you. As you can probably see from that trade right there, that is definitely a challenging drop there. I backtested 5 years of data. My win rate was 70%, about 50% yearly. I'm not forward testing on demo, and my win rate is 58 to 63%. Is that normal? Of course, you're going to have different market conditions. Your strategy is going to perform differently. And yeah, I mean, there's always going to be a difference in live results versus tested results. Everything is not going to be super identical because the conditions will be ever changing. Will you ever go to Dubai? Perhaps to visit, but never to live. Definitely not. You can't beat England. I think Dubai is okay for those people who just thinking about business and tax and things like that, and they don't care about, I guess nature or anything like that. But if you do care about that, then Dubai is probably not the best place because you think English buildings are older than Dubai. They don't. There's no like history. There's no. Yeah, I mean, it's just a brand new place. In the future, it might be nicer, but yeah, I guess we'll see. Prefer English country, but Dubai for dinner. For dinner? You saying you don't like English food? English food's obviously the best in the world. What do you like about England? The English countryside is the best countryside in the world. The English architecture is the best in the world. And yeah, I think, there's a reason why everybody in the world wants to come to England, why everybody speaks English, because we are the best country in the world. It's very simple. Summer. Yeah, English summer is very, it's very hot. Very hot. I guess Dubai heat is probably not as bad as UK heat in the summer. So you're staying for the architecture? No, I'm staying because it's a great country, obviously. But it's just a benefit that, if you see they're trying to bring it back. They're trying to build, King Charles's town here. See, they're trying to bring back the proper architecture. These are new builds, and they're bringing back the proper buildings. English architecture is nothing in front of Greek or Indian architecture. I guess it depends on what you like. But I don't think you can beat something like this. You can't beat a house like this or a house like this. The English manor houses are the best looking houses in the world. I think the only rival would be, I think the Hamptons in New England have some nice houses. But, a Georgian or a Victorian manor house, you just can't beat it. Obviously, you can go to like castles and chateaus, but yeah, Yeah, I don't know why my camera keeps freezing, to be honest. It's very, very annoying. A little tip for everyone: if you ever buy a camera, Sony cameras always overheat. They always overheat. As you can see, I don't know what it's doing. Let me just remove that for now because it's, yeah. Rage baiting, I'm actually being serious. I'm being serious. The UK is the best country. Let me try to fix this. Yeah, I don't know what's happening with this camera, to be honest. Yeah, let me let it cool down for a second. You might have to go onto the backup camera. There we go, we have the backup camera in place now. It's a very bright backup camera, but it'll do. Do you play any video games? I do not play any games. If the UK is best, then surely India is the second best. I definitely wouldn't say so. I'd say, you know, if you look at French chateaus, I mean, look at that. Look at that. And you're telling me Indian houses are better than that? I mean, really? You look at, look at this. Look at this house. No Indian house is beating this. Look at it. It's just unbelievable. You're not beating that. Let's just get that out there. Search that temple. Okay, let's see. It's just not that, I just don't think it's that nice, to be honest. Hasn't even, yeah, it looks a bit dirty. I think they need to clean it up a little bit. See if you're in Denmark and Sweden. Yeah, but Sweden just has those summer houses. Yeah, everything's like a summer house, isn't it? They're all just like brightly coloured. Yeah, Denmark basically looks the same as Sweden anyway. It's basically the same country, right? Spain has nice buildings. Things a lot of Europe, like Portugal and Spain, everything just looks quite similar. It's made of one stone. Okay, that's more impressive. No one lives in those. Yeah, but aren't those like the summer houses? I guess this is the most recent untested low. Oh my god. Now that is a big candle. If it is, it's built by the British anyway. Exactly. The British built every good building. Especially in India, probably. When we colonized. I think a lot of these thriving countries now, they're only thriving because of British colonialism. And that's the truth. You know, like Singapore, you have India, you have Australia, America, New Zealand. You know, you have like South Africa, well, they have Dutch people. You can't beat the British, let's just say that. Fitting well in Miami. I'm going to take that as an insult. You think I'm going to fit in with all those Forex scammers? 90% of Forex scammers live in Miami. And the rest, where are the rest? Probably Dubai. I'm pretty sure in Dubai, isn't it like illegal now to speak about finance stuff without having a license? I'm pretty sure. I was actually looking to move to Dubai at one point, but then I chose not to. Yeah, doesn't Mauritius have the best beaches? Also, this month trading is backtesting is not going very well. Gold is dumping. Well, I wouldn't really say it's dumping right now. It's barely moving. Nothing's really moving much, which is obviously expected. Do you ever go to pubs? I do not. I don't drink. Come to Cape Town. I would like to go to Cape Town. Cape Town looks very nice. And I think it's only 1 hour time zone difference from the UK, I'm pretty sure. So it's not too bad trading wise either. I know a few traders from South Africa. Actually, South Africa seems to have a lot of traders actually. A lot of the best traders are from South Africa. Ever been to Hertfordshire? I have not. I have not. I mean, it sounds like it's up north, right? Too many scammers in South Africa? Yeah, I'd have to agree. A lot of the scammy account flip videos I see usually are based in South Africa, like South African accounts, which is quite interesting. But I'm sure there are some legit traders there as well. I guess it's hard though when your brokers are offering 1 to 1,000, 1 to 3,000 leverage, which a lot of them seem to be offering. The fact people fall for those flip videos amazes you. Yeah, definitely. You know, if you're looking for crazy account flip videos, you need to look at the South African ones. Go to North Korea. I might have to miss out on that offer there, but unless Kim Jong-un wants to be my tour guide, I guess, and I'd probably accept. Seems like a nice down-to-earth guy. Living in the UK 14 years, decline anywhere in the UK. We live in London, Manchester, Bristol, and Cardiff. UK is not what it used to be. That's definitely true. That's definitely true. The UK, probably 10, 15 years ago. Obviously, I can't say from experience because I would have been 10 years old or 5 years old. But from what I've seen and heard, it was kind of the peak time to live in the UK. And obviously, we all know why it's been declining. And perhaps that could be reversed in the future. I feel like it's very easy to fix the UK, but just no one wants to do it, especially if you have Labour in power. They will definitely not want to fix the issues that we're having. And that's why other countries are just doing so much better. It's just, yeah. If you're focusing on the wrong things to change, then you're just never going to improve. I know a trader who full ported 250k to 1.4 million because he had 1 to unlimited leverage. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's quite crazy. I don't know how leverage is unlimited because I don't think that's possible. But that's a crazy flip. Brexit, obviously the most dumb decision. I wouldn't say so. I'd say it would have worked a lot better if you had a party in power that was actually going to utilize the benefits of it. Like, if you're going to fully leave the EU, then at least leave the ECHR, at least leave everything related to the EU. You know, if you're only leaving some things connected, then it's always going to end badly. What do you think about the 100 to a million flip? Well, if you believe that, then you might as well believe that unicorns are real, to be honest. South African brokers are crazy. Yeah, I can agree with you there. That's definitely for sure. They do seem pretty crazy. Let me just... Has my camera cooled down yet? I'm not sure, to be honest. Let me check. I mean, that's what the camera's looking like right now. Oh, there we go. We are back for now. We are back for now. Will, are you a reform voter? I don't think. I think. I mean, they're trying to do the right thing, but I don't think they are strong enough, to be honest. I think if you're going to be the opposite of Labour and you want to try and beat the Conservatives, why are they getting every single Conservative MP to defect to reform? It just doesn't really make sense. You can't say that you're going to beat the Conservatives and you're going to be the new leading party if you're then signing up every single Conservative MP. Doesn't really make sense to me. But obviously they're the only big option in the country right now. Like, Labour's not going to do any better. Conservatives aren't going to do anything. So reform obviously is the only option for now. It's very simple. But it will just end up being the Conservative Party. Like, that's just how it's going to end up. I have flipped $2K to $0 in 3 months. That is impressive. Yeah, I don't know what's happening with this camera, to be honest. I'll just switch to the other camera. If we can adjust the brightness, try and make me look a bit better here. There we go, that should be okay. Oh, a bit better. Yeah, the difference is crazy because this is a little webcam and the camera is like £2,500. So I'd expect to see a big difference, to be honest, if I'm paying that much for a camera. but it doesn't really like to be on for multiple hours. It does seem to overheat quite quickly. Okay, we'll see. GU, there's nothing really happening, no trades, so might as well just keep backtesting for now. We got one more trade for the end of the month, and it hasn't been a good month testing, to be honest. We can look at the analytics now. Yeah, we are down 3%, down 3%. So we can add that to the actual results, minus 3%, because obviously these aren't the true results. These are the true results here, because we had a few trades that didn't actually enter. So we basically add around 8.4% or something like that to this total. So we would be up around 17% profit overall so far, which isn't too bad. I'm not really too concerned about the overall return yet, because we're only 7-8 months in to the year, but we have been doing quite well since we got out of drawdown. We haven't really been back into drawdown. You can replace the battery with a cabled one rather than having the original battery with the camera plugged in. That is useful. I will look into that, because yeah, a couple of hours with this camera on, it just dies. It just dies, which is really, really annoying. Isn't that worse than S&P 500? What, 17%? It's worse than S&P 500. I'm not too sure about that, but you also have to consider that the S&P 500, if I get it up here, has high drawdowns. So if you're looking in the daily here, from 2025, we had, what's this drawdown here of 4%, and what's this drawdown here? Oh, we have a drawdown of around 25%. So the S&P 500 last year returned 16% or 16.5%, but we had a drawdown of 25%. So if I only have a drawdown of 6%, but I'm returning 17, my return on my drawdown is a lot higher than S&P 500. So if I want to have the same drawdown as the S&P 500, let's say 25%, I can multiply my risk by, I don't know, if my drawdown obviously stays like this, around 3 or 4 times, which means my return of 17% so far, obviously we don't know what's going to happen the rest of the year, will also triple. So by having the same drawdown as the S&P 500, let's say 21%, will make my strategy return a hell of a lot more than the 16% the S&P has returned. So when you're trading in the active markets, your return against your drawdown is super important. It's not just about how much money can you return. It's also about the stats. So you have the profit factor, you have obviously the Kalmar ratio. These are all stats you need to be aware of when you are trading. Obviously we can run and see the updated results on the risk to reward. If we just GU's doing nothing, then we can see here the win rates for all the different risk to rewards, the profit factors. So you can see the difference between 1 to 1 and a 1 to 5. Then the average drawdowns. So the average drawdown is very, very low considering the return. So if we make $44,000 profit with only a 5.5% average drawdown, that's pretty good in my opinion. Obviously we can run some Monte Carlos. We can see the overall stats, and you can keep running them and see, minimum, average. So on average, we're making around $40,000 or around 50% profit. So it's always good to see those sort of stats. And obviously you can see the drawdown here, peak drawdown of 7%. So yeah, max drawdown 7.2%. There you can see. Average drawdown equity 3.3%. So overall, it's been a very profitable strategy so far. And these are the numbers behind it, which I am very happy with, to be honest. I know some people try and aim for huge returns, but in my opinion, that is not the best way to trade. You want to trade with realistic returns and don't try and push it too far. If you try and push for too much, it usually ends with nothing, because you'll end up using a lot more risk, taking a lot more trades, and what do you really end up with after that? Probably more losses and less capital in your account. But we don't seem to be, when are we going to trade? I mean, there's no valid setup, so I haven't had any trades, which has been, yeah, it's been very boring, but that's life. That's life in the markets. We can't expect to have trades every single day. Aren't you considering commissions and slippage? Of course you have to consider that, but the year's not done yet, so we're not really doing our full calculations yet. I always do the evaluation after 12 months, which is why I'm saying this is the results, but bear in mind we're only 8 months in. I have only $5 left, please make it grow. If you have $5 left, then you probably shouldn't be trading right now. You should be focusing on making other income, like getting a job or, something like that. That's the way that I see it. So we have no trade on GU yet, which is annoying. It would be good, obviously, to start the week with a nice trade, but obviously today we have the US bank holiday, so that's probably why we don't have as much volatility. People are probably expecting slow markets, therefore less trading. But yeah, it's fine. It's fine. Don't you think that's a break of structure? Of course that's a break of structure, but I'm waiting for a retest before entering a trade. Yeah, volume has been very tragic. That's probably the best way to put it. I need to grow this $5 to 10. Then you're probably in the wrong place to do that. Do you make a living completely off trading on YouTube? Well, just bear in mind that YouTube doesn't really pay much at all. Let me just say that. It barely pays anything. Whereas trading pays quite nicely. What software do I recommend? Well, I always use MetaTrader. So I trade on MetaTrader, always MT4, MT5. You see MetaTrader here. That's what I use for my normal trading. And yeah, it's the best platform that I've used so far. Obviously, you can use CTrader and any other platform that these prop firms use, but yeah. My strategy doesn't really have a name. I just trade every day and just follow the plan. I don't name it. It doesn't have a name or anything like that. Is Funding Pips a good firm? I've never used Funding Pips, so I can't really say. But you just have to use them and find out, I guess. I can't really say if I haven't used the firm. Well, I only use UK for prop firms, brokers even, so FCA regulated ones. And they're usually not international. You can only really sign up if you are a UK client. Alpha Capital or E8? I'm currently trading with E8. I've had payouts of alpha, I've had payouts of E8, and I'm currently trading with E8. Stratname will trades big. Well, right now I wish I was trading big, but we can't even get a setup right now, so it's quite boring. And also, not expecting a lot because we are obviously bank holiday in the US today. It means I'm not expecting a great deal. Do you trade prop firms for a living? I mean, technically, I do. I trade all of my accounts for a living. And obviously, prop firms make up a good amount of my profits. Are you in any trades? I'm not in any trades at the moment. You can see here, I was looking for a break retest into the zone, but we didn't get that retest, so there was no trade for me. You take anything? No setups for me, unfortunately, which is annoying. But you can't really get annoyed if you're following the plan. It's all good. It's all good. Exactly. You can't control it at all. You just have to trade and hope for the best, really. Unfortunately, we haven't had the best at the moment. Do you trade on Mondays when doing a challenge? I do. I definitely do. Do you have an opinion on Euro USD? Euro USD, we haven't really been doing anything. Gold, not really doing anything. UJ, nothing. GJ, nothing. GA, nothing. Which I feel like is going to continue today. It wouldn't surprise me if it did just continue like this, to be honest. Yes, fixed stop loss size. Has funding ticks really shut down? I think it has, yes. If you go on their website, it doesn't. There's like a message that says that they are shutting down. Do you use a fixed stop loss size? Yes, I do. Yep, 10 pip stop loss, very easy. Any advice starting from scratch? Just learn the basics. Learn the basics and just don't try and learn everything at once. Make sure you understand the basics before moving on. And then just watch some YouTube videos from people that aren't just pushing a lifestyle. If they're trying to just push a lifestyle on you, they probably don't actually trade, which is what you need to realize quite early on in your journey. And then just go from there. Yes, I do only trade London. Which prop firm have I had the most payouts from? Probably True Forex funds. They're unfortunately not around anymore, but I had some decent payouts from them. I had a 20k, 19k, 16k, multiple 6k payouts. Yeah, I did quite well with them. Yes, always the 15. I don't look for divergence. I don't look at any correlated assets. Just very simple, one time frame, one pair. That's it. Also, no setups as of yet. So, been live for about 3 hours. Might have to call it a day here. Not looking likely that we're going to get any setups, unfortunately. But make sure you guys like the stream, subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on any future live streams. Don't want you guys missing the next live stream tomorrow when we hopefully get a nice winning trade. That is obviously the goal. So make sure you guys subscribe to the channel, like the video, like the stream, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace out, Bashi. It's been nice to speak to everyone. Some good questions. Make sure you guys don't trade if there's no setup. Just remember that. Don't force any trades today or tomorrow. Just make sure you trade the plan, and that's it. I trade until 12 p.m, but there's not any setups, and I'll just set an alert if there will be a setup. I don't really want to be staring at the charts for no reason, you know. It doesn't really benefit anybody. So yeah, I'll catch you guys in the next stream.